Hey everyone, welcome to another episode as I sort things out of The Simple Life with your host, Gary Collins. That is me. Ask me anything. And hold on, what episode? Episode round 15. Okay, make sure I had to bring up my notes. Before we get started, real quick, if you have some questions, you can email them directly to me at contact@thesimplelifenow.com or go to the website and you can fill out the contact form. Scroll to the bottom of the website. It says contact. You fill out the form. Boom. They eventually make it to me. I answer them on the show. That's the whole point. So feel free. There's never too many questions. So always send them. They're always good ones. If you don't know if I've answered them, it means you got to go back and listen to all the other episodes. So of Ask Gary Anything. So that means you got to go back and listen to 15 episodes to include this one. All right. Also, hey, make sure go check out thesimplelifenow.com. That's my website. That's where I teach you how to live the life you want instead of the life you've been told you must live. It is about learning how to live free in this not so free world sometimes. So make sure to go check that out. That's where I sell my best-selling books, my best-selling supplement line, courses, you name it. It's all on there. Podcast is on there. Anything I do is on that, on the website. I created it. It's my website. But let's get into this. Let's jump into these questions. Oh, almost forgot. Hey, make sure you can also, here's an easy way to send me questions. Join the Simple Life Insider Circle. Go to the website, you'll see it. The pop-up will come up, or you can click Insider Circle, click on that, boom, sign up for it. You respond to any of those emails with your questions, I get them. And I'll answer them on the show. All right. So other than that, not a whole lot going on. So I don't think I have any updates. Oh, make sure to go check out the Right Dudes podcast. That's my new podcast with Judah Freeman of the Ben Stein Show, Rob Kendall of WIBC FM in Indiana, and Rock Breath, our traveling correspondent. He is living in an RV. And you guys know I've done that. Him and his wife, they're going around the country in an RV. So make sure to listen to it. Very different show. It's not a strictly political show. We get into politics. It's a play on words. It was based off the right stuff. So people go, oh, the Right Dudes. Obviously, it's all about, talking about Lindsey Graham and that. No. It's not that. So go check it out. Trust me, it's good. And I've had Rob and Judah on the show talking about the new podcast. And by the time this comes out, Rock Breath, he's our traveling correspondent. I know, funny name, but that's what he goes by. First question, Ben, how does wild fermentation, kraut, pickling, kimchi, etc. fit into the paleo primal lifestyle? Do you have any endorsement or critique of the nutritional claim of typical fermentation enthusiast? Oh boy. Fermentation. Yes, it does fit in. So fermenting is basically breaking down through bacteria, breaking down a food to make it more bioavailable and as a storage. So before we had refrigeration, great concept. I love my refrigerator and freezer. Before then, remember, we hunter-gatherers, we hunted and gathered until we figured out smoking meats and drying meats and certain things, but we had to eat it right then and there. And that's how starvation happens so often, is we didn't have a place to store food. So we figured out fermentation, which was simply the rotting of food, and that preserves it. If you can stop the fermentation, if it keeps fermenting, that is rot. So simple things. So sauerkraut is a fermented food. There's different ways to do it. There's, when he talks about pickling is using vinegar, but you can technically it's using vinegar and a salt solution, and other, you can add other things, garlic and dill, but the basic thing is to get the food to start a rotting process. And how do you know it's done? Well, you got to learn. You figure it out. I have fermentation jars that I've used in the past. It totally fits into the paleo world as fermented food. Okay, there's a couple things. I know this can get a little confusing, but the primary aspect of it is obviously, since it's rotting and it's building up these bacteria, and you can use, they call them starters. Like if you make your own yogurt, you use these yeast starters, and it prolong with the sugars. You put sugar in there and it creates the bacteria, and then the bacteria feed off the sugar, and then that's beer. That's wine. that's how you make alcohol. Alcohol is fermented fruit grains. That's where it comes from. It breaks it down. The after effect of that is alcohol. So the way it fits in it too is there's twofold. First of all, it makes the food more bioavailable because it's been broken down, is the best way to put it. So people who have digestive issues with, say, raw vegetables, they do better with fermented vegetables because, like I said, they're broken down. The fiber's broken down somewhat, and it makes the nutritional aspect, since it's broken down, more bioavailable, means you absorb it better. All right, that's one part of it. The other part is the bacteria. So by building these bacteria, because they're growing in the food, you're growing a bacteria culture. That these microbes, good, bad, there's a little bit of everything and everything. You want obviously more good. Your gut, guess what? Your gut has bad bacteria in it. I know it's going to shock people, but it's right around 85-15. So 85% considered good bacteria, 15% considered bad bacteria. And you go, well, why would I have bad bacteria in my body? Well, the way our gut flora works, and I've talked about this, gut flora is basically where you get your immune system from too. So we are more bacteria, more microbes than we are cells. We need these bacteria to survive. They break things down. They break things that make us sick down. So it's not just hydrochloric acid in the stomach, which does a lot of it. These bacteria will attack certain bad bacteria, break them down so we can utilize them and not get sick. The bad bacteria are used as a counterbalance, because if you don't have the bad bacteria, what happens is you end up with an overgrowth. This is where candida starts from, which is you get a thrush. You start to see it on your tongue. So if you had that good bacteria unchecked, literally your body would be overwhelmed with bacteria. You would rot from the inside out and you would die. That would be the end. So those bad bacteria, they work in this ratio, and trust, we don't know how. The body is the communication that goes on within our body is a miracle. I mean, it really is. So these bacteria have a programming in them. They know that if the good bacteria start to overgrow, the bad bacteria will actually eat and break down the good bacteria to keep this balance. And the good bacteria do the same to the bad bacteria. So it's this kind of wild bacteria dance of give and take. So there's that. So what with the fermented foods, they have this good bacteria that you digest, and believe it or not all of it, but it does. It gets through your stomach. It actually passes through, then these bacteria will survive. Some of them are very resilient. That's how they end up in your large and small intestine. Primarily your colon. This is where a lot of digestion occurs. This is where absorption occurs. So yes, that's why these foods, fermented foods, have a big piece of, and they're technically, using minor quotes, paleo, because they're vegetables for the most part, right? Grain alcohols are not paleo, even though they're fermented. Fermented grains, again, no grains, no dairy, no beans. So even if they're fermented, not paleo. Got it? So I hope that answer. I had to bring it back up here, make sure I didn't miss anything. And like I said, pickling, you use a little vinegar. And the easiest way, I want to get into this because, God, it's been a while. I'm getting ready to hopefully ferment some more stuff. That I use a very basic, I don't use starters. Like if I've made my own kombucha in the past. Kombucha, you need a starter kit. So they call it, oh God, now I'm going to forget the puck. It's the puck. But it's this puck of bacteria that you store. And you take the puck and you put it in, and that's your starter. And that's why you'll see a lot of starters are yeast and sugar. That gets the bacteria going, grows. I always brine is the easiest way to put it. So I use a salt water solution, and I keep things out, and I let them naturally break down that way. All it is the process of building bacteria and starting the partial rot of that food. There used to be meat hanging back in the day too. So when they would kill an animal, they would gut it, and then they would hang it up for a while and let a crust, like a moldy bacterial crust, grow on the outside. Then they would scrape it all off, because that would be a natural tenderizer of the meat, because it's breaking down. It's breaking down the fibrous meat structure, the muscle structure. So yeah, we've been eating rotting stuff for a very long time.